Coach Hill,
Chris, how's it going, man?
it's going pretty good. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm great. Been a long week, but I'm good. It's Friday.
Yes, the weekend. So, well, first I'd like to tell you thank you. I appreciate you taking some of your time to come on here and speak with me today.
No, it's my pleasure, Chris. I've seen some of your work, man. You do a good job.
I appreciate it. Just trying to maintain, just trying to grow and build. The
Doing
Rams
that.
are my family. I'm a Ram, so love the Rams for sure. But we're not going to be on here all night. We don't want to hold you up on your weekend, so we're going to go ahead and get started. For everybody on here, this again is Coach Cleo Hill Jr., the men's basketball coach for WSSU, Winston-Salem State University. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So, if you would, just give some things about yourself that people may or may not know. If somebody told you to say, give 30 seconds about who is Cleo Hill Jr., what would you say?
I would say I'm a young man from Orange, New Jersey, who had a big dream and a big shadow to follow in Cleo Hill Sr. Started at Orange High, went all the way to North Carolina to go to school at North Carolina Central. Um, I left there and had a brief career overseas in Swan Hill, Melbourne, Australia, and I started coaching right after that, and had a very solid coaching career at a couple of different levels, and I've landed where I'm supposed to be, right here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, as a Winston-Salem State University Ram.
No question about that. So that's the brief introduction of Coach Hill. So you talked about being from Orange, New Jersey. Could you talk about how
Right.
that was growing up there, and how long were you there?
Well, I did my elementary, middle school, and high school years in Orange, New Jersey. It was great. Um, my mother still lives there to this day. Her and my brother, and it was great playing for Orange High School. Made a lot of friends. Had a lot of great experiences from my freshman coach Greg White to my varsity coach and Clifford Brake, and even my summer league coach Hatari Saladin. Um, learned a lot of things from those men growing up in Orange and playing at Orange Park. Uh, that was a great experience. I learned a lot about the game. Made a lot of good relationships out there, and it's where I'm from. It's where I love. It's where the foundation was laid for myself as a young man and as a basketball player.
All right, you definitely don't never forget where you come from. That's your
Definitely
roots.
not.
So
Definitely.
you talk about your relationships, some of the people that you met down there. What age did you begin playing basketball?
Oh goodness. Uh, Probably six or seven. Um, my father being Cleo Hill Sr., who had a large name in New Jersey, particularly Essex County. He grew up in Newark, New Jersey, had a great high school career, um, great college career, a brief stint in the NBA and semi-professional, but became a very legendary coach. So growing up in that shadow as a player, but then not knowing eventually I would follow his footsteps in the coaching ranks. So it was great. It was great.
Yeah. So it's a conversation that I see had a lot when you have athletes. Some, especially when their fathers were, like you said, legends like your dad was. Did he kind of push you to play basketball, or was it something that you just, being around him, you just picked up on your own?
Yeah, picked it up. There was no way around it. He coached. His college career started in '72, which that puts me right there at about 6 or 7. Going to his practices, going to his games. He trained people at the back in our backyard at the house. And starting in middle school, I started reading more and more about him, and that's when I became a little bit more serious about basketball, trying out for summer league programs, and our version back then of AAU. It just was no way around um, the teachings and the conversations of the sport of basketball. And the players I played with at Orange Park were a lot older at the time when I was in ninth, 10th grade. And the stories that they shared, they became valuable as I started getting more serious in high school about basketball.
Right. So, what are we going to talk about your father a little bit more in depth later on in the interview? But what would you say, um, playing against older competition? How did that help you improve your game?
Well, I think that's, back in our era, that was the way you got better by playing against older guys. It was a lot more physical. Um, the game was a little bit slower, um, but it was played inside out, played the right way. Shooters shot the ball, drivers drove the ball, and defense was you couldn't get on the court unless you played defense, and you couldn't stay on the court unless you played offense. So I think that was even the kids to this day in this era. I think playing up at times is good, but that gives you more confidence to play in your age group. So that's kind of what I did. I played with the older guys a lot, and when I played with my age group, I was one of the better players out there. So I think a lot of guys can learn from that by playing. And it doesn't have to be against older players, but better competition. Those guys were better than me at 12 and 13. I was, probably 7 years younger than most of those guys. And I thought that helped set the foundation for me as a basketball player.
I believe that for sure. So you talk about the importance of defense back in those days. Why do you think today? I'll say start out by saying I personally believe that defense has kind of lost art in today's NBA, college, in sports in general, and it's for the simple fact, in my belief, that the average fan wants to see 130 to 128. In college, 90, 94 to 91, and so it's like points are praised because
Hmm.
people just don't want to see those dog fights anymore. And so I believe that's one of the things that have led to a lot of players not even focusing on defense at all. I mean, you see players in the NBA who play zero defense. And so from a
Right.
coach's
Right.
perspective, where do you think we went wrong with that and why do you think that is the case?
Well, Chris, I think when you talk about high school and college, eventually they emulate what they see in the NBA, whether it's the style of play, whether it's the players or even the coaches. Um, I think what the NBA saw, and I won't quote the numbers, but I believe ratings went down back in the late '80s with the bad boy Pistons and those Knick teams of the early '90s. Um, I think ratings went down, and I think the NBA started looking at a lot of basketball that was played overseas, and it was free flowing. They may not have been as athletic, but like you said, the scoring was higher. They the biggest aspects for excitement is shooting 3 pointers and dunking the basket. So I think what the NBA wanted to do was get more 3 pointers up to make it exciting and less defense so you can't impede progress to get to the basket. Either to dunk the ball or if there's help defense, either to pass the ball for an open 3-point shot. So they kind of looked at that model and liked it. And I think that's where the game is going. And I also think that Shaquille O'Neal leaving the game, there were going to be no Shaquille O'Neals coming after him. So what teams tried to do at that point is bring Shaquille away from the basket, and you can only do that by having guys that can shoot the ball. So once you get bigger guys shooting the basketball outside, now nobody wants to work on post moves.
Hmm.
So now the lane is freed up. They're going to be no more Shaqs. And then it's simple math, 3 versus 2. But with that too, it'd be preferred to have a dunk. And so that's I think kind of where it started from. Um, and though that makes the game more exciting, faster pace, less grinded out defense, and you have the product that we have today, what they call pace and space.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. That's where we are right now.
So while we're on that and Shaq, um, we also have the fact that pretty much if you can't shoot, even at 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet, in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, even early 2000s, your 7 footers were not taking 3 pointers.
Right.
They were in the
Right.
post. Nowadays, if you can't even if you can't make any threes, you're going to be limited in your playing time. How do you feel about that? Do you think that's a problem? Because I personally do believe that's a problem. For me, I'm proud
Right.
of Joel Embiid this season for
Hmm.
the simple fact that he has cut down on his 3 point
Yeah.
attempts. Joel Embiid is one of the most gifted centers we've ever seen when you talk about skill set on
Definitely.
both sides of the court. So for me, I was becoming very irritated by seeing a guy that big and that talented continue to settle for 3 point shots. And so this season, he's cut back on that, and we see that he's now, most people have him as the MVP currently. So what are your thoughts on the bigs shooting so many threes and not taking advantage of their, size and posting up and getting shots around the basket?
Right. First of all, Chris, I'm happy for Doc Rivers. He got out of a situation or was asked to leave a situation down there with the Clippers, and he's someone that I've kind of emulated some of my parts of my career as a coach, and I'm glad that he's up in Philadelphia and his team is playing well. I've always been a big Joel Embiid fan, um, but I'm torn because a part of me is a coach that prefers to play inside out. I think as a coach, I do very well when I do have a good post player that has good back to the basket moves and is strong and likes to finish down low and play with his back to the basket. But then I'm torn because at my best, I was a shooter. And I feel like I would have been great in this era. I would have been extremely productive in this era. So I kind of use the best of both worlds. When I watch basketball, I like watching players like Joel Embiid. And then I can appreciate players like Nurkic who can play inside and out. And Joel can play inside and out as well, but I think he's much more effective in the low post and the mid post. Um, but then, being from New Jersey, I love guys that play like Kyrie Irving and James Harden and get to the basket. Um, I think in the end, when you have guys that are so skilled with the basketball, like those two guys, like Harden and Kyrie and Damian Lillard, it helps when you don't have a post clogging up the lane um, for those guys to come in there and the help is so close to the basket because those guys are posting up close to the basket. It helps them to finish and kick out. But at the same time, if you do not have guys that are skilled like that, you want to try to find a way to draw a defense or even draw a double team. And there's no better way to do that than having a post player. So I'm kind of torn. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but I can appreciate the big guys that like to play close to the basket and love it. But I can see the evolution of the game and bigger guys spacing the floor to help the guards have more room.
Well said. So one of the things also that I believe uh, has helped Joel Embiid be better this season is his conditioning. I talked to all of the guys from the team that I've spoke with. I've talked to a couple of NBA interviews that I've had. Cheyenne Parker, WNBA.
Okay.
I've talked to just athletes in general about the importance of being in great shape, being well conditioned. Because they've said that when you're in great shape, you're able to be effective longer than a person that's not. For the simple fact that when they become tired,
Definitely.
you're still locked in. When you become tired,
Right.
you're gonna make mistakes, and you're not gonna be as effective as you should be. And so, can you talk a little bit about how important you believe being in shape, whether it's your weight and just your conditioning in general is?
Well, I think those are two different things. Being in shape and being in condition to me is a little different. Being in shape is the physical stature of your body. Um, Being in conditioning to me is your endurance. Um, I never was in great shape until I got to Australia. Um, that has always been my Achilles heel of carrying extra weight. And once I got into shape, good shape and condition, I was a totally different player. And so I talk to my guys about that. You know, you may have some guys that are carrying a little bit of weight or, you know, they're not in great condition. Um, it's difficult, like you said, to play at your best for extended periods of time. And in the end, that's what you want to do. You want to play at your best longer as an individual player and as a team. So it's very important. A lot of it starts with your diet. You know what you're eating, what you're not eating. Um, you know whether you need to gain weight or whether you need to lose weight or just get toned up. I think it all plays a part. And nowadays they're tying so much to what you're eating. And that's something we try to talk to our guys about. We had a trainer last year that was kind of big on nutrition and stretching, among other things. Um, and I think that can be the difference. That can be the difference between a win and a loss, um, and gaining the championship and not gaining the championship. So I think it's very important.
Yeah. So much stuff we could cover, man. We're gonna end up having to do a part two at a later date. But let's go ahead and transition a little bit because I do want to get on this. So you talked about attending North Carolina Central University,
Right.
HBCU.
Hmm.
We now in 2021, and we're having to push that narrative, the importance of it. Um, for one, why did you attend Central, and what were some of your offers if you had other offers?
Well, there were a couple of offers, and I was talking to one of my assistant coaches about Seton Hall University in New Jersey, which was down the street. I can't say it was an offer. I did have some conversations, but in the end, it was my conditioning or my lack of conditioning and lack of being in shape that allowed me not to go there with PJ Carlissimo. But I just felt I went on a visit here to Winston-Salem State, and I got a chance to meet Coach Gaines and talk to some of the players. And, you know, the fact that my father went here, he was such a great player. And my first idol in basketball was Earl Monroe. And then Coach Gaines was just like a statue of a man. Like he was just, his aura was like so huge. It was too much for me at the time. And so I went back down to Durham. My parents took me to Durham, North Carolina, where my aunt and uncle stayed and my cousins. And I just went to the campus and I loved it. Talked to quite a few people, and it just felt like home. In the end, it was less pressure as I know more about it and know more about the sport and more about the politics of it. The pressure was not as great as it was here at Winston Salem. So Um, I just fell in love with the campus, how I can be relaxed, and still get a good education and still play basketball, and the social life was great. So all three of those things kind of work hand in hand.
Okay. So I guess while we're talking about your college career, what would you say is maybe one or two moments that stand out for you? Let's talk about one moment just as a generalized student, and then maybe one game that stands out.
Wow, to narrow it down, um, the moments were homecoming. Homecoming was like a big thing. uh, Being an Eagle. Um, you know, you look forward to that November football game every year. So that was a big thing. Unfortunately, if you talk about a moment, it was my last college game of my career in the NCAA tournament. Um, you know, having to guard the best player on the team for the last play. Um, and I remember the play. It's something that we ran offensively. It's something that I run offensively here. When a guy goes from top of the key down under the basket, and has a chance to go off a single screen or a double screen, and they have been going off a double screen all night. And I overplayed that, and he went off the single screen to the other side, and it was isolation, nobody over there but he and I, and he drove baseline and went up under the basket for a reverse layup, and that was kind of the last basket of the game. And I felt bad about that, and I still feel bad about that today in 2021. So that's probably my biggest memory if I had to have one play or one day, which is not a positive one, but it's an experience that happened.
Yeah. So I hear a lot of people talk about how long it takes them to get over a loss. Now, could you talk about how long it used to take you as a player and now how long is the process as a coach? When you lose a game, are you able to decompress, before the next day? Or is it something that, say you play on Monday, it's something that lingers to over to Wednesday, Thursday for you? How long did that linger for you, a loss?
Well, like I said, that particular loss is it's over 30 years. I still think about that to this day. As a player, I was definitely one who stayed upset for a couple of days. Um, but you can't stay upset too long. You have classes, you have quizzes, you have tests, um, and your coaches are probably beating you up in practice the next couple of days. Now, as a coach, it still lingers. Not as long again because you have games, you know, coming in a couple of days, and sometimes in our cases, this past season, the season before last, we played Thursday, Saturday, Monday, so you just don't have a lot of time to dwell on it. So what you do, you talk about it from a coach's standpoint. We talk about it right after the game. We come in the next morning and we talk about it, and you just try to get better. I think in the end, if you dwell on it without the concept of knowing that you have to get better for the next game, that's when you can have a slide. If you don't let it go, that one game could turn into two, three, and before you know, you're on a four-game slide. So you gotta let it go as quickly as possible, but make the adjustments. And a lot of that comes in forms of film sessions with the players, film sessions with the coaches, walkthroughs, um, and just making some solid decisions, whether it's offensively, defensively, or sometimes it's a lineup change. But you have to figure out what happened, what went wrong, and then you just got to move on to the next game.
No question about it. So we're gonna I guess backtrack and talk about, you talked about playing in college and then playing overseas.
Okay.
Uh, then you talked, like I said, man, I got so much stuff I can't hold you all night. So let me.
Hey, Chris, we got all day, man. We
You
got we
got
got all
time?
day.
You got time?
Yeah,
Okay,
got
so
time.
so I'll focus then. Okay, you're playing overseas. Where did you play
Uh-huh.
overseas?
In Australia.
Australia. So talk
Yep.
to us about the culture shock, of going over there. What were some of the things that you really had to adjust to? And I guess what would be your favorite experience over there?
You asking some tough questions today, Chris. I would tell you. Um, I mean, there were small things like, uh, the steering wheel was on the other side of the car. The music was a little different. Some of the food, and you don't want to go over there and eat fast food like you eat in the States. You want to try some different things. Some of that stuff is just horrible, like Vegemite and things like that. But my memory was again just a probably an immature moment. of an all-out team brawl, and got suspended for some games, and that kind of caused the team to fall out with me, and just things like that. But Chris, they're all learning experiences, man. But when you talk about what stands out, it's not always the good things. It's just not. It's things that didn't go well, uh, but it's things you learn from. They became experiences that I learned from, and now that I can share with my players. Because sometimes your players think that you're not human, or you're old and don't know what you're talking about, and can't relate. But these are pressures that happen. They don't always happen in professional. They happen in college and high school, summer league, AAU. And again, you have to learn from it. So that would be one situation that I remember. Outside of that, um, I coached the under 14 girls team. That was my first time coaching basketball, and I think that was where the itch happened. Coaching them in a tournament, and they were great. I had a very dominant team, and that was the start of my coaching career. Because when I coached them that particular summer, the next year the team asked me to be player coach, and that was a role that took some adjustments, but it 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 showed me that I had a love of coaching. And so that's kind of where it all started, and probably the best memory since I'm still coaching to this day.
Right. Now, I can't let you just brush past that moment that we just talked about, the brawl. This might be viral worthy right here. Take us back to the brawl, and then take us to the falling out with the team.
Well, there was a matchup with a player, and I'll give you the lead up. Overseas, they have the score of the game in the paper and the two top scorers. And it wasn't something that I looked at a lot. I knew I was averaging a lot of points. I was averaging 40 points a game, somewhere between 30, 35-ish and 40. And so I look in the paper one day and I have 43 points, and I'm like, that's probably the high for the week. And I saw somebody on another team had 50, and I was like, wow. And so a couple of games go by, and I look in the paper. I have, I think, like 38, and then I see somebody with 57. And I'm like, goodness gracious. A couple of weeks go by again, and then I have a good week of 52. And I see the same person has 63. So I'm like, wow, he must be a big guy. And then I have a 55-point game, which was a great game. And then I see this person has 74. So now I'm digging, and I'm like, oh, he's a guard. Oh wow, okay. So we're getting ready to play them, and we played the All-Star game. No, we played them first. We played them first. I'm not really sure about that. I think we do play them first, and that doesn't sound right. No, yeah, we do play them first. Um, he comes out, and he gets he gets the first play of the game. He steals the ball from our off guard and runs back behind the line and shoots a 3-pointer. Um, and then they deny me the ball, and the two guard gets it again, and he steals it, run back, shoots a three again. So I asked the guy, you all right? And he says, yeah, yeah, yeah. So he gets it, and he steals it again, run back, and shoots a three. So we're talking about, Chris, we're talking about 9 points, probably in about 12 seconds. So I said, okay, I got it.
And he stole the ball from me and not going for a layup. He run backs and hits another three. So right away, I'm like, oh wow, that's how he's getting these high numbers, because he's getting them in clips of 9 and 12 in under 30 seconds. So I have to get a little physical, Chris, because you're not going to be just taking the ball like that, and I get a flagrant foul or whatever, and so I figured out how we're going to get the ball up the court, and he's about to have a career night, and I'm upset about that. So I go in for a layup, and I get fouled, but they don't call it, and they throw the ball down the other end, and I'm still on the ground, but I hear a loud cheer, and I get up and I look down, and 3 of the Australians from the other team, they got my teammate in the headlock, and one is punching him in the face, and the other one is kneeing him in the stomach. So I kind of lost it. Whether I lost it because they were roughing up my teammate, or I just wanted to get out that game. To this day, I don't know which one it is, Chris, and I smashed those guys up against the wall, and it just got really ugly. And I did get suspended. There was a hearing and all of that. I thought they gave me some bad information in court, and it just kind of fell from there. We just kind of fell out. I still keep in contact with some of those players and some of the players on my under 14 girls team, but that was an eyesore for my playing career going through that.
Yeah. So, it seems like you kind of just blanked out. I guess you were just tired of this guy just killing it.
Hold on. I'm coming back.
We back?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. I'm good.
Yeah. So it seems like you just kind of began to be frustrated with this young man, and him continue to steal the ball with you. Like you said, to this day, you don't know whether you were really defending your teammate or you were just like, "Hey, man, I'm ready to go into the locker room."
Yeah. But I'll tell you this, though. I'll tell you this, Chris. That makes sense now, because we played in the All-Star game. I think it was either the following week or 2 weeks after that, and I was prepared for that game playing against him, and I ended up getting the MVP of the game. 24 points, 20 assists, and 10 rebounds. I think he had like 30 points, but I walked away with the hardware, and you cannot get that back. So I'll say we're 1-1.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. I think his name was Damon Lowry. I think the name was played for Division I in Alaska.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna now transition from that. Had to get that news right there. Had to get that expanded upon.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
boy.
but now we transition and talk your decision to apply for the head coaching vacancy at Winston-Salem State University. There were 104 applicants, well, 103 other ones than yourself. And
Right.
so what led to your decision to apply for this job, first and foremost?
Um. Right. Actually, I was doing player development and learning that field. Um. You know, training players and training my kids. Actually, my kids were young kids and still young. And I was embarking on that profession, trying to learn the ins and outs of it. And I did get a call from a coaching colleague and said that the position might come open. And I really it did not register for a couple of weeks. And then the guy called back and asked if I was going to apply, and I was like, "Look, man, I'm kind of done with that coaching thing. I want to see what I can do in this player development." And he kind of kept pushing on it, and so I said, "All right, I'll apply." And at that time, I'm not even sure how it is now, but the application process, just so many pages to fill out, and so I did it, and I think that was when I saw. Well, when the job actually came open, I applied for it, and I didn't apply for it right away. And that's when I saw it was about a day or two after that it was John Dale, my good friend now. Uh, he said that there were 104 applicants, and I was like, "Oh goodness, good luck with all those applications," because I've been on some committees and I know how the process works. And I went about my day, uh, just training and working out, and not even thinking twice about it. And then probably about 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a call asking if I would do a Zoom interview. Um, and I said, "Wow, how many candidates are left?" And I think it was 16. I was like, "Wow, I made it to the 16." And at that point, Chris, that's when it began to sink in that my parents went here. They met here. My father played here. I have godparents that went here, and I've met all of my father's teammates from college, and Earl Monroe, and my father being a junior college coach sent players to coach games, and then it just sank in that would be a really interesting situation if I could coach there. I'd never thought about coaching at Winston-Salem. Say never. It never entered my mind. Even when I would coach against them, I never thought about possibly being a coach here. Um, so I thought the Zoom interview went well. I thought I did a good job. Um, the head of the committee, who I know now, Dr. Felder, he was really professional. And there was a lot of people on the Zoom interview, and I just felt like I did a good job. Um, and then probably 2 weeks later, they called me for an in-person interview, and it was the final four candidates. And I was like, wow, that'd be a tough blow to come this far at Winston-Salem State and not get it. So I prepared for the interview, did some research on the team, and did some more research on the school, and I felt good about it. And I came in, I thought I did a good job, and I think it might have been 2 days or 3 days later, I got a phone call from a birdie. I got a phone call saying that it was a tight race. And I think it was at that point I called my references and said, "Look, it's close. Can you give the AD a call or give the chancellor a call?" Um, and I'm not sure what happened with that, but I just know that leaving the in-person interview, I felt really good about Chancellor Robinson. I've had a chance to know quite a few chancellors and presidents, and they were all great, but it was something special about him and his vision. Just a great man, and cares about the university and cares about the students. So I was like, wow, I would love to be the coach to come in and win a championship for him. Um, and so I got the call on a Friday that I might get a call. And I was assuming that it was going to be a call to come back for the final two, because that's what I was told. And I got the call that Friday night, and they offered the job, and I accepted, and I wanted to speak to the chancellor, and that's how it happened. In the press conference, I was just blown away on how professional the university was in the athletic department. Everything was, first class. They did a great job in preparation with the media. The room was set up nice and bowling gray, and there was some players there, and I got a lot of calls from alumni. It was just great, just a first class institution. That's what I felt accepting the job.
Yeah. So could you talk about the feeling that you felt when you got that call that Friday night you speak of? You see, I assume when you see the phone ringing, does it show the number so you already know, okay, they're getting ready to say something. So when you answer the phone and they announce that you are going to be the next head coach, the ninth head coach of Winston-Salem State men's basketball team, what was that feeling like, the emotions? Talk a little bit about that.
It's tough, Chris, man. It was, I guess, because my father had passed a couple of years prior to that, um, and knowing what Coach Gaines meant to me, it was an emotional moment. It took a lot of strength on the phone call. There was some silence right after. Uh, at that time, it was Tiny Walker, and it was just a huge moment um, for me in my coaching career. And I've had a couple of jobs, assistant jobs and head coaching jobs. Um, but that there was nothing like that. There was nothing like that feeling to sit in the same seat that my mentor sat in and know what the university stood for and what the athletic department stood for and men's basketball, what it stood for. No feeling like it for me. For some coaches, it might be coaching the New York Knicks or Atlanta Hawks, but for me, coaching here, um, nothing like that phone call. Nothing like it.
Yeah, I can imagine the emotions. So now we'll transition and talk the CIAA championship. Um, it had its highs and its lows. Of course,
Yes, it did.
So for those who may or may not know, February the 29th, 2020, WSSU did win the CIAA championship against Fayetteville State. However, with 4 minutes and 23 seconds left, they trailed 59-48. Now, I've talked with the players about this. I've talked to the players, Rob and the other guys about their emotions, their feelings when they realize, man, we're down double digits, and this time it's expiring on us. So, what was your thought process as the coach when you realize that you're down 11 with about 4 minutes left, and this is a win or go home situation? Either you're going to be celebrated or you will not, because even though you made it to the CIAA championship, it would have been a whole lot different as second place.
Right. It was tough getting there. We played against a tough Livingstone team that we did well against in the tournament that first round. And then playing against Claflin, who upset Virginia State, um, and they were playing well. That was my former assistant coach at Shaw, Coach Jackson, and coaching against Lou at Fayetteville. I was well aware of Lou. I've known Lou for years, with him being at Bowie and myself being at Shaw as the assistant. So it was good that I was coaching against him in the championship because we were both trying to step foot into history, um, being the second two coaches, one of us to win a conference championship at two institutions. Uh, so I was aware of that. But in those last 4 minutes, Chris, really, I was in denial, man. I was in denial that we would lose the game. I didn't know how would win. But, going down 5 and 7 and 9 and 11, I just figured somehow, some way we were supposed to win the game. I thought it was destined for us to win. So my confidence level stayed high. Um, but when I called that last timeout, I'm not sure how much time was left on the clock. Um, the guys didn't look defeated. That was huge for me because if they looked defeated, that would have made my job even harder. Um, but they looked confident. We had been down before. We were down against St. Aug at like halftime by 15 points, and I think we were our largest deficit there was 19, and we came back to take the lead with like 45 seconds to go. So I knew we were capable. Um, and I had an interesting group in the game during the comeback. It was Justice Kitcart, who's turning professional now, um, and a good defensive player and heady guy, really heady, smart, tough. And I had Jalen Austin in there, Superman. Xavier Fennell and Mason Harrell, and of course Rob Cologne. And I thought the chemistry of that group was really good. It was a real good defensive group. All those guys were tough guys, good defenders, and really athletic. So once we got a couple of baskets, and I saw the game a couple of days ago. Mason Harrell started it, and I think Xavier got a put back. Uh, John Hicklin made a shot, and then Jalen Austin got a rebound and put back to really close the gap. Once it got close, I knew we would hold serve defensively, and I honestly felt like we had, if not the best player in all of Division Two, we had the best player in our league in Rob. So I felt it's close, uh, to spread the floor. Um, Rob will get a good shot, and we will have a good chance of getting the offensive rebounder because we had our best offensive rebounding group in the game, which was Xavier, Jalen, and Mason. So it came down to some good coaching by my staff, and we were prepared for what Fayetteville likes to do in late game situations. And the guys just did not quit. They didn't quit. And again, Rob Cologne with the free throws, made a good move and got fouled and sold it well. And as confident as Rob is, there was no doubt that he would make all three of the free throws. So my biggest thing was once he makes the last free throws, what are we doing defensively? And we thought their point guard was not their best shooter, but he could get the ball up the court quickest. So as you saw, we had two guys on him, and two guys with length, quickness, and athletic ability. Now he had a good look, but it did not fall, and we became the CIAA champions. Winston-Salem State University Ram.
Yes. So when the final buzzer sounds, because you talk about taking the lead on Rob's free throws, and like you said, they had a good look. When the final buzzer sounds and we are the champs, you all are the champs, what emotions were you feeling at that point?
Um, Wow. I mean, there were a lot of emotions on a couple of different levels. Um, you know, it would have been great to play Shaw in the championship. That that's all I'll say about that part of it. Um, then there was the emotions of winning a championship at my father's alma mater. He and my mom, and you know, and winning. I got Coach of the Year before the tournament actually started. Um, and I think a huge part was speaking to Earl Monroe before the game. Um, and I thought about that constantly during the last couple of minutes of the game. And, I just sat there for a little while. I just sat there and, my family came over there and, we said a prayer and, it was just a good feeling. It was a feeling of accomplishment because the alumni base here is so strong. The Ramley is so strong. And as a coach and as the players, we felt the energy during that last 3 minutes. Like we felt it. Like even behind our bench, like we were down 11, and they were like we're right there. It didn't seem like it, but they really pushed us over the hump.
Yeah. So glad that we were able to overcome that. And it was a great moment, great accomplishment. You continue to mention Earl Pearl. That's a guy that is on my bucket list. Um, you know, I definitely would love to have an interview with him. Like you said, great legend for WSSU. Ended up having a great NBA career, and seems like
Right.
just a great person. So
Yeah,
yeah,
great. I'm not
and
sure if you
then
saw his interview for Legacy Week.
hmm
I was on that Zoom call, and I thanked him for that, calling before the game. Just a great guy, like you said, man. He's just a great guy. He loves being a Ram. You can tell it in his interview, and he helped me during my playing career early because everybody wanted to be like Earl and do the spin move, and I'm glad I got a chance to really get to know him. I met him when I was younger, at parties at my house. And my father always invited the teams over, the past teams in the summer, and I got a chance to meet him on a couple of occasions. But getting to know him now as the man, it's a good feeling. I kind of put it on the same level as getting that phone call before the game. If some of my players got into coaching and they got a call from Allen Iverson or Kyrie Irving, somebody that they looked up to, and now they're coaching and got a call from somebody that they idolize. It just gives you a big boost, and it gave me a big one. And my whole team was in there listening, and we brought it home.
yeah. Okay, so let's transition and talk a little bit about. We know that this has been a rough about 12 months. Um, COVID. First off, how have you been uh, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of the above over this last year?
Well, it's been rough. My family for the most part has been healthy, but I've lost a couple of family members, a couple of friends, some teammates, and some guys I played against. Um, so it's been rough emotionally on that end, because the virus is such a nasty, angry virus, man. You know, I think we're doing better. Numbers are going down, but everybody has to continue to do their part and wear their mask and wash their hands 6 feet apart. Um, And if people that are not serious, if it touches you in some way, your family members or friends, you get serious. And I think everybody has to continue to do that until it's over. We got a vaccine. People are taking it. And, hopefully we'll be back to some sense of normalcy soon. Um, Sooner rather than later. Definitely hoping for it, at least by the summer at the latest.
Yeah, definitely. We just have to continue, like you said, to take it serious, um, and stay positive. You know, it's been a kind of tough year for me for an aspect of, trying to get into this field, the media field, and they're not
Okay.
really doing any hiring. They're just not. The sports, we
Wow.
know that the NBA kind of stopped,
Hmm.
had a long break, and so sports in general is not really a lot going on as far as hiring. They're kind of staying packed. But I just, continue to uh, lean on my faith and stay active. Do
Hmm.
whatever that I need to do to keep my mind, like I said, positive. Because I believe your attitude will dictate your altitude.
Right.
And so that's where I'm at on it. So we transition and talk about the decision for the CIAA season to be canceled.
Right.
Wow, that I don't even really want to talk about that because that was devastating news for me as a fan and supporter. For you, when that news was passed down, you received it. What were you doing, and then how did you take it?
Well, I mean, with the coaching meetings that we were involved in, the men's side, and I think the women were having their meetings. I was sensing in late October that it could be a possibility that it would cancel. Um, I thought Winston-Salem State did a great job in limiting their cases. Um, I thought they kept us abreast of what was going on with the virus. And they were very active in making it so we could be safe. And I think in the end, the call was made on safety. It was just too risky. Um, we were gaining more knowledge about the virus itself, um, and you just didn't want clusters popping up, and that's what could have happened had we played the season. You see so many cancellations, and it was just too risky. And I think the league, the conference, made a good call. Um, and Winston-Salem State was so active um, in those conversations, chancellor to chancellor and athletic director to athletic director. And as coaches, they kept us abreast, and we tried to keep our players abreast of what was going on. It was a downer to just have the total season canceled, but better that than having the worst happen. So it was a good cause. As much as I hate we didn't have the season, it was the best thing to do.
Yeah. Well, there's Coach Hill's thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I know some of your players. I don't
Oh
know if they
boy.
spoke with
Yeah.
you about it, but some of them thought that more
Yeah.
things could have been done.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
tough
Well,
tough situation, but somebody's got to make the call. Um, and it's 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be 100% popular.
yeah. So, getting ready to wrap up. Don't want to hold you too much longer. But don't want to brush over, like you said, the life and the legacy of your late father, the great Cleo Hill Sr. If you could talk a little bit about the man, the father, and what you want his legacy to be as a son.
Right. Well, you know, Chris, growing up and even coaching here at Winston-Salem, the stories were endless. Um, you know, some people talked about him like like he was a ghost, or like he was, Sasquatch, like he didn't really exist. How some people used to talk about him. So that was great throughout my life to learn more and more about him. Even some news stories I've heard since I've been here with some state. Um, but he was a tough dad growing up, a disciplinarian. Um, as a coach, I learned a lot from him as just him being a dad. And then I learned a lot from him, being a coach. Our relationship, got better as I got into coaching. Um, I didn't play for him. My brother played for him, and he was a junior college All American playing for my dad. But I heard that relationship was dicey. Traveling from class to practice to games back home to the house. So I could only imagine how that was. But my brother and I both, we learned a lot from him on and off the court. Um, his legacy, I think, again, speaking about Winston-Salem State, he was proud of what he learned academically, and as it was Winston-Salem State Teachers College, and he became a teacher in English and math. He was as proud about that as anything he did um, as a basketball player or as a basketball coach. So I think he embodied what I try to get over to my student athletes, the balance of basketball and academics, being a student, and still having a healthy social life. Um, we are at the top, and we are the mecca of of definitely basketball at HBCUs. We have the richest history, and we're maintaining that. But academically, we are still striving to be the mecca of that academically. And if you put both of those things together, you have a successful uh, academic career, a successful basketball career, and we're kind of the mecca of social life too. Like we have a whole lot to offer on all three levels, and I think for his legacy, being able to balance the three well, I think that's what he would want it to be, and that's what I want it to be.
Total package, more than an athlete.
Yep, there it is, right there. You called
Right.
it. You called it.
Okay, so the final thing that I have, another guy that's somebody I look up to a lot. I guess you probably can guess who I'm getting ready to say, being in my field. Can you guess?
It's got to be Stephen A. I hope it is.
Stephen A. Smith. That's an interview
There
that
it is, right
I have
there.
on the bucket list.
Okay, the
Yeah.
goat,
Yes.
the goat of the
So,
media world. That's him.
yes, hardworking, just getting
Yep.
it done. So, could you talk about the importance and what it means? Stephen A. not forgetting about Winston-Salem State. Every chance
Mm-hmm.
he get, it's highlighting us on First Take,
Mm-hmm.
social media, giving back his, monetarily. Can you talk about, how important that is and how great that has been?
Right. I think when you're talking about, like I talked about Orange, New Jersey, um, when you learn something and have I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. When you learn something someplace or from someone and you have a great experience, you want to share it. And I think that is what Stephen A is doing. He's he's reliving um, his path from Winston-Salem to where he is today. You can tell that he learned so much along the way, and had so many valuable lessons and valuable relationships and he wants to share it, with the world now. And that is a great thing. Is attending an HBCU has become in vogue now. The people like myself and Stephen A. Smith and my father, my parents, Earl Monroe. It's always been in vogue. It's always been the best option, the nurturing option to attend the HBCU. You get a chance to network, um, gain friendships, and in your field of study, like you're in the media world, those friendships and relationships last forever. Um, and I think from how he talks now, he really has a love for Winston-Salem State. I've got a chance to talk to him a couple of times, and you can hear it in his speech and his voice and his delivery that he is going to do whatever he can to continue to promote Winston-Salem State as a university, as an athletic department, and even as a basketball team, because he was on the basketball team, played for Coach Gaines. But even the mass comm department, like he throws a lot of love all over this university, and we're just thankful he's one of ours. We're just thankful.
Yes. So, can you still see me?
Yep.
Okay. So, yeah, we're going to get ready to wrap up. Just want to give you an opportunity to say anything, any last remarks, anything that's on your heart, just for the Rams, for just life in general.
Yeah. No. First, I'm gonna say I appreciate you, Chris. You do a great job. I've seen you a couple of times, and you're a professional. You do your homework, and we're glad that you are a Ram. You are starting a new age rage of media personalities, and you being a Ram, we definitely love it. My players love what you do. Um, I always speak the truth, and Winston-Salem is among the top universities in the entire country. I am happy to be here. My coaches are happy to be here, and I'm thankful for the support I have. There are a lot of coaches out there that don't have the support from the administration, but it starts from the top down. Chancellor Robinson has been great. We have a new athletic director, A.D. Thomas, a new associate athletic director in Sonia Hurt, who's also a Ram, a Hall of Famer. Um, the entire athletic department support, and I can't say enough about the student body uh, and the alumni. They have welcomed me with open arms, and I'm just so grateful that the relationship is mutual.
Absolutely. I definitely appreciate those words on my behalf. And I have a lot of respect for the job that you've done. And
Thank
I know
you.
that following your father's footsteps is not always easy. We see a lot of stories where when you have a legendary dad, legendary parent, relative, it's difficult. But I believe that you handled it in a phenomenal way. And so I hope that we can stay in contact, and any way that I may be able
Definitely.
to help you and the team, I'm here. Appreciate you again for taking some of your time on this Friday to spend with me. I hope you have a great weekend. I saw that ring on your finger. I
Oh
believe, did
yeah,
I see? Yeah, we got to see that ring in the camera. There we go.
that is right there.
That's it. That's that CIAA championship, and we're getting ready to get another one soon. As soon as this COVID is
There it
over,
is. Need another one, Chris. Don't
yeah,
we're not gonna stop here.
you got 10 fingers. Why not?
There it is, right there. That's what they're for.
Yeah. I appreciate you for taking your time out, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Appreciate you, Chris. Enjoy your weekend, man.
All right, you too. Have a